What is up, you guys? This is Mega Drive Adam here, and I thought I'd do a top five, my top five favorite video game consoles of all time. I was kind of bored lately, man. So I was kind of bored, and this is one of those nights where I couldn't get any sleep. So um, yeah, but these are my top five favorite video game consoles of all time. My top five favorite retro consoles of all time. So, without further ado, here we go. Number five, the Nintendo GameCube. Now, the Nintendo GameCube, it was the system I grew up with when I was a kid. I had this system back in either around 2003 or 2004, or this was like one of my favorite consoles of all time. A lot of the games on the GameCube were like mostly hidden gems. And I actually really like this design of the GameCube. Unfortunately, this is a re-release GameCube, which means it doesn't have that cord on it. What are they called? I forgot what they were called, but they got rid of that extension port, which makes the GameCube have crisper graphics. This game, even though the GameCube lost the console race to the PS2 and the OG Xbox in terms of sales. But what this console did make up for was in games and how good the controller was. In fact, to this day, two of my favorite GameCube games of all time are Super Smash Bros. Melee and Ultimate Muscle Legends vs. New Generations. And I will do a video on those two games one day in the future. But cute design, love the design of the GameCube, and not to mention you can pick it up like that. But yet again, who in the right mind holds a GameCube like that now? I mean, you know what I mean? So yeah, GameCube is a great system. Definitely check it out if you're in the market to buy a GameCube console. So yeah, my number five is the Nintendo GameCube. My number four is one of the best-selling consoles of all time, the PlayStation 2. Released, I did, and you gotta remember, I also did the 20th anniversary collection video of this thing not too long ago, like a month ago almost. But released on October 26, 2000 in North America and March of 2000 in Japan. The PlayStation 2 has gone on to be one of the number one highest selling consoles of all time, with lots of great games, good controller, good everything. And at the time, the graphics were amazing. And this was actually one of the biggest advantages that the PS2 had over the GameCube, of course, was the DVD player, which means the DVD player is okay. I'm sorry, I forgot what I was gonna say. Anyway, it had a built-in DVD player. It was like one of the first video game consoles where you can actually watch like movies on it with your DVD collection and shit. My favorite PS2 game has to be Tekken 5, my favorite PS2 game of all time. This is such a great game. I mean, a great console. Sorry about that. This is one of my favorite consoles. My fourth favorite console. Such a great system, great library of games, and overall, if you can find a PS2, I highly recommend it as well. I got my Fat Boy console for $20 back in 2016, and you can typically find one for around like maybe I want to say between 50 to maybe even $90. I want to say, but if you can definitely pick this console up. Such a great system to play, and keep in mind, I had a PS2 a little while after my GameCube was gone in 2007. There was a time where I had to share the GameCube with my brother. So, yeah, my number four favorite is the PlayStation 2. My number three favorite video game console of all time is the NES. Now, once you take a look at the design of the NES, and you can tell this is a great-ass time. The NES was like, even though I wouldn't say the NES helped get rid of the video game crash of 1983. It, at least in North America, it did. Everywhere else was fine. The American video game crash in 1983. If it wasn't for Super Mario World, not Super Mario, what the fuck? If it wasn't for Super Mario Bros, and Duck Hunt and the like, we wouldn't have gaming in America wouldn't be where it is today if it wasn't for if it wasn't for the NES and Mario Bros. Great system, awesome library, such great games. But the one thing that does kind of annoy me about the NES is that sometimes if you like, this happened to me on multiple occasions. At times, if I feel like I want to play an NES game, it does the red blinking light where it keeps blinking like on and off, and I have to keep blowing on the cartridges in order to play the game, which I honestly thought was kind of annoying. But despite that, the NES had a very good library of games. My favorite NES game of all time has to be Super Mario Bros. 3. That was such a great game. One of the best on the console, man. The best-selling NES game of all time, I think. So, yeah. The Nintendo Entertainment System is my number 3 favorite Nintendo console of all time. And next to that is my number 2 favorite console of all time, retro console of all time, is the Super Nintendo. Now this thing had a lot of great games, and if you were to recall, if you were alive during the early 90s, the Super Nintendo and the Sega Genesis were the first time ever that we got to see. Well, technically not really, but it was one of the most memorable console wars of all time, with the NES having a good library of games. My favorite Super Nintendo game, in fact, has to be Contra 3 Alien Wars. That's a great game. That's actually not. I mean, that's a good game too, but my favorite game on the Super Nintendo is Castlevania 4. Now, Castlevania 4 was such a good game. Such a really good game. Awesome graphics, amazing controller. I will admit the design for the Super Nintendo does kind of not look all that great compared to the Japanese Famicom design. So, and great system, great library of games. If you have the money, the Super Nintendo can be kind of expensive nowadays. So if you have the money, a little extra money to fork over, then yeah, I recommend getting the Super Nintendo. So yeah, my number 2 is the Super Nintendo. Now, before I get to number 1, I'll give my only honorable mention, and my only honorable mention is the Sega Dreamcast. The Sega Dreamcast had a lot of good games, but it just didn't make the list, unfortunately. But I will do a video on the Dreamcast at one day, other than collection videos. So yeah, my number 2. My number 2 favorite video game console of all time, like retro video game console, is the Super Nintendo. My number 1 favorite video game console of all time. This is the console that kind of got me into retro gaming over the years, all the way back in 2009 with a certain collection on the PS3 and the 360. And that, my friends, is none other than the Sega Genesis. Oh my gosh, the Sega Genesis over the past 11 years has became one of my favorite video game console, my favorite retro video game consoles of all time. I love this thing. From the moment I heard about the Sega Genesis and from the moment I got to play some of the Genesis titles, I was in love with this system. This system has proven to be my number 1 favorite. And my favorite, I got a lot of favorites, but my most notable favorite on the Sega Genesis has to be Streets of Rage 2. Such an all-time classic beat 'em up. As for my favorite Sonic game, because I know the Genesis is mostly known for Sonic the Hedgehog 2, my favorite Sonic game on the Genesis is Sonic 3 and Knuckles. And out of the Genesis designs that came out over the years between the models 1, 2, and 3, which I do have, by the way, right there, the Model 2 with the Model 2 Sega CD, and over there is my Model 3 Sega Genesis. Out of all the ones that came out over the years, my favorite Genesis design has to be the Model 1 with the high-definition graphics model. Everything about this system just screams badassery, man. The Sega Genesis is a badass system. Lots of great games. And most of which are actually kind of inexpensive, with some exceptions, I will say. With some exceptions being Musha and the like. Musha and the Punisher, Elemental Master, Lightning Force / Thunder Force 4, you name it. There are some games that are kind of expensive now. I do have some expensive games that I'm so glad I got. But yeah, the Sega Genesis, such a great console. Now let me tell you a story, a little quick story on how I got introduced to the Sega Genesis. Let's go back to the year 2009. I was around 12 years old right at the time. My uncle Manny had a PlayStation 3, but it wasn't no ordinary PS3. It wasn't even the slim PS3s either. It was the 60 gig PS3 that came out in November 2006. You remember those PS3s, right? The fat boys, the heavy fat ass PS3s. And I remember my Uncle Manny had like a bunch of demos and shit on his PS3, right? And one of the demos he so happened to have was Sonic's Ultimate Genesis Collection. It was a demo version. Even though it was a trial, I had fun with most of those games, actually. Even though the only games that were available to play on the trials, the demos at the time, were, and I quote, Sonic 3, Streets of Rage 3, the American version, and Space Harrier, the arcade game. Out of those three games, I liked Sonic 3 ended up becoming my all-time favorite. My second favorite being Streets of Rage 3 from that demo, of course. And when I heard about that collection, when I got to play it, ever since then, I did eventually get the full game on my Xbox 360 back on my 13th birthday back in 2010. Oh my gosh, that was already 10 years ago, man. Oh man, I'm getting so old, man. But yeah, from that moment on, I've always wanted to try out a Sega Genesis. I've always wanted to play the Sega Genesis, man, and for about a couple of years. It wasn't until around August 2014 that I actually started collecting the Sega Genesis and games for it. This was the Model 1 that I had since 2014. And it ended up costing like $22 with the cords and everything. I already had games for it. Like, in fact, one of the very first games I had on the Genesis were not only the Sonics, like Sonic 2, 1, by Sonic the Hedgehog's 1 and 2, but also Target Earth, and even Mortal Kombat 1. Those four were my very first Genesis games I ever played. Well, Sonic's 1 and 2 I've already played on the collection prior, but on the actual console, like, the Genesis version, MK1 and Target Earth were the very first few games I ever got for the console. And ever since then, I've been collecting Genesis games to this very day, man. In fact, I'm getting another Genesis title in the mail, and that's coming out around next week. So, yeah. So, my number one all-time favorite retro console is the Sega Genesis, or Mega Drive, depending on where in the world you live in. In fact, I actually do own quite a few Sega Mega Drive games in my collection as well, but I will do a remake of my collection video on the Sega Genesis. I don't know when, but maybe sometime after I get a certain Genesis game. But anyways, you guys, this has been my top 5 favorite retro video game consoles of all time. Sorry if it seems like I've been going off topic at times, where I sound like I don't know what the hell I've been talking about because of my stuttering. But I will try to improve on that next time, and I will try to script my videos if I can, because sometimes I feel like I go off topic on my videos most of the time. Well, anyways, you guys, this has been Mega Drive Adam signing out. The next time I'm going to make a video, I might actually do something a little bit different. What is it, you might ask? You might have to just wait. You might have to just wait and see. Anyways, guys, this has been Mega Drive Adam signing out. Peace the fuck out. Good night.